Good morning and welcome this morning to Idea TV newspaper review, and it's another exciting morning and happy new year again because we're still in your new year. Alright, my name is Mary Ojimajo. Alright, we're taking you to the first newspaper for the morning that we have this morning, and the stories we have this morning, it's on the Vanguard newspaper. Let's see the stories we have on the Vanguard newspaper for the morning. One of the stories on page 5, we have 2026. Atiku Obi, CAN, PDP, ACF, MBF charts way forward for Nigeria. And that's on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper for the morning. And we also have on page 15 and 14, we have how failures in payment pillars infrastructure lock out people with disability. And that's the story you read on page 14 and 15 of the Vanguard newspaper for the morning. We also have other relating story that would interest you. We have First Bank successfully complete 500 billion naira capital rise. And that's on page 2 of the Vanguard newspaper for the morning. All right, let's move forward to the next newspaper we have for the morning. On our Tribune newspaper, let's see the stories we have on the Tribune newspaper for the morning. First story we have on the Tribune newspaper for the morning on page 29, we have government attacks Ondo community, sets police station ablaze, adopt monarch in Kwara. Gunmen attack Ondo community, sets police station ablaze, adopt monarch in Kwara. And that's on page 29 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. And we also have on page 2, New Year Day sermon, Akpabio withdraws all defamation suits. New Year sermon, Akpabio withdraws all defamation suits, and that's on page 2 of the Tribune newspaper. We also have Plateau governor resigns from PDP, picks APC membership card today, and that's on page 5 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. Moving forward, we have 30 billion naira. Federal government funds remain unspent. 20 billion naira balance withheld, or your government says. All right. It says here, it says it has spent 24.6 billion naira of state fund on accident. Wants full release of approved 50 billion naira intervention, and that's on page 3 of the big story we have on the Tribune newspaper for the morning. We also have on page 22, men to watch in 2026. Tinubu Obi Atiku continues battle of wits, and that's on page 22 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. We also have police place enforcement of tinted glass permits on hold. Police place enforcement of tinted glass permits on hold, and that's on page 3 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. We also have terrorists kill 9 in Plateau community on New Year's Eve, and that's on page 29. It's an interesting story that you want to go through there. And we have Wobodo, Kanu, Mba hold strategic talks on Igbo position in Nigeria. I'll take that again. Wobodo, Kanu, Mba hold strategic talks on Igbo position in Nigeria, and that's on page 2 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. I also have controversial tax act. NAS reviews processes of transmission of bills, clears air on gazetted tax act. I'll take that again. Controversial tax act. NAS reviews processes of transmission of bills, clears air on gazetted tax act. That's on page 4 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. We also have accident, Anthony Joshua's driver in custody, Ogun police said, and that's on page 29 of the Tribune newspaper for the morning. Moving forward, let's see what we have on the Guardian newspaper. Let's see the stories we have on the Guardian newspaper for the morning. Okay, on the Guardian newspaper, first story we have, they have First Bank successfully complete 500 billion naira capital rise, and that's it's a story that is making the headlines for the morning. You would want to read. And we also have a year to test policies, shape politics, measure performance, and that's a big story we have there on page 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper, we have a year to test policies and shape politics, measure performance. All right, let's see the related stories we have here. On page 7, we have police suspend tinted glass enforcement after court's order. And that's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have National Assembly to release certified tax bill amidst gazetted discrepancies claims. And that's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have opposition branch 2025 year of hardship urge change in 2027. Well, hoping for that. That's an interesting story there. And we also have that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have Rivers Wike Fubara rift deepens as parties mobilize support for 2027. That's on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. We have 8 police died in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway auto crash. And that's another story you want to read on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper for the morning, and other interesting stories that you want to read through. Okay, we also have on page 3, we have Kayamo Abdullahi Bakar over obese defection, ADC's changes, and that's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And we also have all your accounts for FG's 30 billion naira explosion, says 20 billion naira withheld, and that's on page 27 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's move forward to the last newspaper we have for this morning, and that's on the Blueprint newspaper. Let's see the story we have on the Blueprint newspaper for the morning. We have on our first story here, we have federal government's 30 billion naira border G explosion, relief fund still intact. Or your government, that's on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. We have other related stories. All right, let's take one of the stories we have here on page 18. We have Akpabio withdraws all defamation suits after priest's sermon. And that's on page 18 of the Blueprint newspaper. We also have Naira ends 2025. And that's on page 24. And on the sports story this morning, we have AFCON Super Eagles in close door training for Mozambique, and that's a big one we have there on page 27 of the Blueprint newspaper for the morning. We also have major events that shaped 2025. Let's see the major events that shaped 2025. We have Rivers State of Emergency, mass defection. We have Niger school children adoption, Unity school closure, and we have tax reform bills. These are the major events that shaped 2025. And moving forward on the next story, we have Anthony Joshua discharged driver faces persecution. And that's on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper for the morning. I also have an interesting story, Tinubu's tough decision, pressure and weight of reforms, that you see on page 4 of the Blueprint newspaper for the morning. All right, that is all we have on our newspaper review. That is all the stories we have on our newspaper review this morning. Don't forget to always follow us across all our social media platforms at Idae Television. Send us your thoughts, your comments on what you want to contribute. I remain Mary Ojimajo, and thank you for watching.